Yep, it's recording. I'm Ethan Levine. I'm here with Mitch Deal, and this is our UKC 131 video project submission. I'm going to start by asking Mitch a couple questions about the movie 28 Days, starring Sandra Bullock. Mitch, do you want to just give our viewers a little synopsis of the movie before we get started?
A little synopsis of 28 Days with Sandra Bullock is about a woman that ends up going to a rehab facility for drinking and driving, being on drugs, and driving basically just under the influence throughout the first part of the movie, and has to go to rehab for that. And it just shows like her lifestyle, how it changes throughout rehab, what process she has to go through to change to better herself.
Now, this movie is very relatable to you in particular. Do you want to tell us why?
My mother is actually a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. She has been to rehab many different times, and I've learned a lot about that, her being my mother, and she's just told me more and more about that, and she's actually now she's been sober now for like 4 or 5 years.
So, knowing what you know about alcoholism through her and kind of knowing about the rehab process before, during, and after, how accurate do you think the movie is to that process in real life?
There's a few parts in the movie that are relatable, but for the most part, it's been really sent to Hollywood. The depictions in the movie of Sandra Bullock first getting there from drinking and driving and being on drugs, that does happen. You can be sent to rehab for like being court ordered there. But when she gets there, and how visitors can come at any time, and she's sneaking out and stuff like that, that doesn't really happen in real life. I know that you can't just randomly have friends just come in and, like her boyfriend does, to give her more pain pills that she wanted. That doesn't happen without being searched or anything like that. And only kids are usually allowed to be in rehab with you.
That being said, it being court ordered and her going in lieu of jail time, the times that she leaves during the movie and comes back, and the threat of kicking her out and sending her to jail, would that ever have happened in real life where they would have let her stay, or do you think, again, that's Hollywood being Hollywood, adding wrinkles into the story?
It is just kind of adding more bulk to the story of 28 Days. Usually, rehab's all for yourself. You can be court ordered to go, but for the most part, it's to better yourself. You are addicted to something that can potentially, or almost for the most part, kill you if you keep doing these harmful things to your body. So, I just know that it's only for bettering yourself, going there to get sober and to start a new lifestyle that's clean and healthy.
One scene in the movie in particular that stood out to me was later in the movie, as Bullock is really starting to come out the other side, a new patient who really has no other bearing to the plot checks in, and she is noticeably going through the same struggles that Bullock, and you can imply the other patients, have gone through. What do you think that one scene does to the plot of the movie in terms of developing the characters that are in the rehab facility, or what kind of light do you think that shines on the rehab process?
There's new patients being checked in and out every single day of every rehab facility. A lot of the patients that have been there for a while can usually tell just by the way people are acting what they have been on, what they're trying to recover from, because they're going to be having withdrawals and just acting a lot different. So the light that does shine on is that this is a real thing that can happen in life. This happens to millions of people a year going to rehab to get better, and that's just a little scene in the movie. But it kind of just goes to show that this can happen to anybody.
And then lastly, we touched on how true to the real process the movie is. I'll ask you, no matter how much Hollywood kind of got their vices on it and maybe changed it or exaggerated it, do you think this movie still has any informational value towards that public health concern, or do you think anyone watching it really could get something out of it, or do you think it's just Hollywood blockbuster trying to make money?
People can get informational value out of this movie, but there's just a lot of scenes in the movie that wouldn't particularly happen, at least nowadays, for rehab. I just know that the random checking in and outs, having people come in that are strangers to everyone there. That's more for Hollywood to just just put more bulk into the story, just about. So, I mean, for the most part, it's more of a Hollywood movie, but there's some parts of the movie that can be relatable to what can happen in real life.
Okay.
Yeah. So now I'm going to ask Ethan Levine about the movie Contagion. After watching Contagion, can you just give us a little synopsis of what the movie was all about?
Contagion's really about a disease. It's very serious, very deadly disease that the people in the movie know very little about, and how quickly it spreads and how large of an impact it has on the movie. Spoiler alert, they say at the end 26 million casualties die from this disease. And really just the public health concern is disease spread and what we can do in our everyday lives to kind of contain diseases from spreading like this, and the serious impact that a disease can have and how fast it can spread throughout the entire global population, actually.
In the movie, there's a lot of scenes where the camera is being shown on different things for cinematography in the movie. What kind of video is shown of what's going on here?
I really like what the director does here, because he focuses on common surfaces or common areas that we walk by or touch or are involved with on a daily basis and really take for granted, and how things that menial can really spread a disease this serious so quickly, and how many casualties could have fallen from this disease simply by touching the same counter, simply by sitting in the same seat on an airplane, on different flights, of course, or things like that. And I really like how the director really goes out of his way to focus on these things and really make sure that the viewer takes note of how menial an object can, how menial of an object really can spread a disease this serious, and how serious it can be.
You said earlier in the synopsis about modern travel. What would you what do you mean by this?
Well, in the movie, this disease is a pandemic, meaning it spreads globally, and I think the concept of a pandemic is much more real through modern travel. I think you gotta leave. We gotta start over. I got totally thrown off, and I know there are noises in there. What we can do, though, probably, is just start over.